It started with a single post, nothing more than a few lines of text on Elon Musk's X account. But those few words carried the kind of weight that could shake the world. Musk wrote, "An opportunity is coming. It's not just about Mars, cars, or AI, it's about you." That was it. No explanation, no video, no link. Just that mysterious line left hanging in the digital air. And like a spark in dry grass, it caught fire instantly. Within minutes, hashtags began trending across the globe. Some people thought he was teasing a new Tesla product, maybe a car that could fly. Others guessed it was connected to SpaceX perhaps, tickets for the first civilian trip to Mars. The more imaginative ones joked that Elon was finally ready to upload everyone's brains into Neuralink and create the first digital city. The ambiguity was intentional, and Musk knew it. He had mastered the art of dangling curiosity, and the internet was hooked. News outlets scrambled for answers. CNBC ran a headline asking if Musk was planning the biggest tech reveal of the decade. Bloomberg speculated it might be a new global currency. Social media became a battlefield of theories. Was it about AI jobs? About ending poverty? About a new electric gadget? Memes poured in. One viral post showed Musk holding the Infinity Gauntlet with the caption, "An opportunity is coming. Half of you won't survive it." Another turned his words into a mock movie trailer, with dramatic music booming as the text "It's about you" flashed across the screen. For days, the world waited. Musk refused to clarify. He responded to questions with cryptic emotion. A rocket here, a light bulb there, sometimes just the symbol of a brain. Even his closest allies at Tesla and SpaceX claimed not to know what was coming, and that only fueled the speculation. Because when Elon Musk, the man who builds rockets, rewires cars, and shakes entire industries with a tweet, says something is about you, people pay attention. The pressure built up like steam in a closed chamber. Journalists camped outside Tesla's Austin headquarters, waiting for a glimpse of something, anything. YouTubers made hour-long breakdowns of the tweet, analyzing each word as though it was a hidden code. Financial markets even twitched. Tesla's stock briefly spiked, then dipped, as investors tried to guess what was on the horizon. The mystery had turned into a global guessing game, and every single person wanted to be right. Then came the announcement of a live event. Musk posted a time, a date, and a location: Austin, Texas. No further details. The venue was instantly overbooked. Tickets sold out in seconds. Resellers demanded thousands of dollars, and live stream signups surged past the millions. It felt less like a tech presentation and more like a world premiere. A spectacle. When the day finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric. Thousands packed into the venue, while tens of millions tuned in online. The stage was minimal: a sleek, black backdrop, a simple podium, and a glowing Tesla T logo. Musk walked out in his usual plain jacket, no flashy production, no dramatic countdown. Just him, pausing for a moment as the crowd erupted in cheers, and then he began to speak. But instead of launching into specs, graphs, or product videos, Musk started with a story. He spoke about how most people live their entire lives underestimating what they can do. How society trains people to fit into boxes, to follow instructions, to stay safe rather than dream bold, he said. Most people think opportunity is something reserved for billionaires, for governments, for people in power, but that's a lie. The real question is what would happen if ordinary people were given the tools that Silicon Valley keeps for itself. The room fell silent. For once, even the live stream chat slowed down. No one had expected this. Product reveal, no new gadget. Musk wasn't talking about rockets, or cars, or robots. He was talking about people, about you, about anyone listening. And in that moment, the world realized that this announcement wasn't just another headline. It was the beginning of something much bigger, something that might not just change industries, but change individual lives. And so the mystery tweet was no longer just a line on a screen. It was the spark that lit a fire of anticipation. Musk had everyone right where he wanted them, not just curious, but personally invested. Because when the richest man in the world says the next big opportunity isn't about Mars, or AI, or even Tesla, but about youth, the question becomes impossible to ignore. The air in that Austin auditorium felt different. Everyone had come expecting a shiny product, some technological miracle wrapped in a glossy presentation. But what they got instead was Elon Musk telling them something almost unbelievable. He paused on stage, letting the silence stretch. Then he said, in a calm but deliberate voice, "The future is not something to wait for. The future is something you build. And my goal is simple: to give you the tools to build it." At first, many in the audience thought it was just another motivational line, the kind you hear at conferences before a sales pitch. But as Musk went on, the mood shifted. He wasn't teasing a car or a rocket this time. He was unveiling something far bigger, something almost personal. He called it the Open Vision Program. And the idea was radical. Instead of hiring only elite engineers from Silicon Valley, Musk announced he was opening access to the very resources that built Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink. Ordinary people, teachers, farmers, artists, students, mechanics, could now pitch their boldest ideas, And if those ideas held even a spark of potential, Musk would provide what was always missing for dreamers: the labs, the mentors, the funding, and the networks. The crowd gasped. You could see people leaning forward in their chairs, eyes wide. This wasn't about buying a product. It wasn't about investing in a stock. This was Musk telling the world that the walls of Silicon Valley were coming down, that the hidden gates of innovation were about to be unlocked. He explained it in simple words. Too many brilliant minds never get heard because they weren't born in the right city, didn't go to the right school, or couldn't afford the right connections. I want to change that. And then he painted a picture. He spoke of a teacher in Africa who has an idea for cheap solar-powered classrooms, of a farmer in India who knows how to solve drought but doesn't have the resources to scale it, of a student in South America who dreams of building affordable satellites for rural internet. He said, imagine if these people had the same resources as a Silicon Valley startup. Imagine the speed of progress. Imagine how many lives could change. Every word felt like it carried a challenge. This wasn't just a promise, it was almost a dare. Musk wasn't saying he would solve humanity's problems himself. He was saying you could solve them, if only given the chance. And now he was offering that chance. The media covering the event was stunned. Some reporters whispered frantically into their recorders, while others typed with lightning speed. Analysts in the live stream chat couldn't keep up with the flood of reactions. Was this real? Was Musk truly opening Tesla and SpaceX resources to the public? Or was this just a grand speech that would fade into the background like so many corporate promises? But Musk was ready for that doubt. He pulled up a simple slide on the big screen behind him. No flashy design, no futuristic animation, just a short line of text: submit your vision. Build the future. Beneath it was a website address. That site, he explained, would allow anyone in the world to submit an idea. His team would review them, and the best ones would receive immediate invitations to partner directly with Musk's companies. Not in theory, not in the distant future. Starting right now. You could almost hear the electricity in the crowd. Phones lit up instantly as people rushed to type the web address, some even before Musk had finished his explanation. The livestream comments exploded. Thousands of people wrote that they were about to submit their projects, some joking that they'd been waiting for this moment their entire lives. But Musk wasn't finished. He leaned forward on the podium and added, I don't care if your idea is about Mars colonization or just about helping 5 families in your neighborhood. What matters is that it pushes humanity forward. If it does that, then you have my attention. That line hit hard. For years, people had watched Musk reach for the stars, quite literally. But now he was looking directly at the ground, at ordinary people, at their lives, at their neighborhoods. It was as though the man famous for dreaming of Mars was suddenly saying, Earth matters too, and so do you. By the time Musk left the stage, the world had changed. He hadn't announced a car, a rocket, or a chip. He had announced an invitation, a key, held out to billions, asking them to step through the door. And the question wasn't what Elon would do next, it was what you would do, if given the chance. The days after Musk's announcement were nothing short of chaos. The submission website he launched crashed within hours. Tens of millions of people from every corner of the globe tried to log on at once, desperate to send in their vision. Engineers, we scrambled to scale the servers, but even with all of Tesla's computing power, the sheer flood of humanity trying to participate was overwhelming. And yet, behind the chaos was something beautiful. The sound of voices long ignored finally, trying to be heard. It wasn't the usual Silicon Valley crowd uploading pitch decks. These weren't suits with venture capital funding or graduates from Stanford showing off polished prototypes. These were farmers recording videos in their fields, teachers sketching diagrams on chalkboards, teenagers filming raw, shaky smartphone clips where they explained their dreams in bedrooms, backyards, or village huts. Suddenly, innovation wasn't locked inside high-rise boardrooms. It was spilling out of kitchens, garages, dusty workshops, and crowded classrooms. And some of the first stories to emerge were extraordinary. Take Amina, a 27-year-old teacher from Nairobi. She submitted a 2-page document outlining her dream of creating solar-powered drones that could deliver textbooks and tablets to remote villages. Before this program, her idea was nothing but a fantasy she shared with her students. Within weeks, she received an email. Her proposal had been selected. Amina found herself flown to Austin, where Tesla engineers walked her through battery technology and helped her design a prototype. She had never been outside Kenya before. Now she was inside a Tesla lab, standing shoulder to shoulder with some of the brightest minds on Earth. Then there was Carlos, a farmer from rural Brazil. His submission was written in rough Portuguese, translated by his teenage son. His idea was simple: to build an irrigation system powered entirely by Tesla solar panels, designed to bring water to fields during long droughts. To him, it wasn't about changing the world. It was about keeping his neighbors from going hungry. But Musk's team saw potential. They gave him access to Tesla's sustainable tech advisors, who helped him turn his modest sketches into a scalable model. Within months, Carlos's design was being tested across multiple villages. What started as a desperate local fix now looked like a blueprint that could feed millions. And then there was Raj, a 19-year-old computer science student from India. His submission wasn't even a complete plan, just a rough idea for an AI tool that could translate medical instructions into dozens of local languages so rural patients could finally understand their prescriptions. In the old world, Raj would have been laughed off for not having a polished business model. But under Musk's program, he was flown into a workshop with Neuralink engineers and AI specialists who took his half-formed thought and nurtured it into a working demo. Imagine the shock of rural families when a teenager's idea, once scrawled in a notebook, suddenly had the backing of the world's most powerful tech labs. These were not billionaires. They were not celebrities. They were not graduates from Ivy League schools. They were ordinary people, but now, with extraordinary chances, and for every Amina, Carlos, and Raj, there were hundreds more. A fisherman in Indonesia proposing a wave-powered generator, a nurse in Pakistan designing cheap portable ventilators, a carpenter in Poland sketching modular homes that could be shipped flat and built in days for refugees. For all the excitement and all the hope Musk's program unleashed, it didn't take long for the shadows to appear. Because with every bold idea comes doubt, and with every chance comes risk. The moment Musk declared that ordinary people could access Tesla and SpaceX resources, critics pounced. Pundits on major networks sneered that it was nothing more than a PR stunt. Some said Musk was playing God, dangling dreams in front of desperate people only to crush them later. Others warned of chaos. If you let amateurs tinker with rocket labs and AI tools, what could go wrong? A prominent politician in Europe even suggested the program might destabilize industries, calling it dangerous disruption in the hands of unqualified dreamers. And yet, despite the noise, people kept submitting. Because for the first time, the gates were open. And when you've spent your life locked out of opportunity, you don't walk away just because someone says it's risky. Still, the risks were real. Many participants discovered that dreaming was the easy part. Building was where the pain began. Amina, the teacher from Nairobi, found herself in tears during her second week in Austin. Her drone designs didn't fly the way she imagined. The prototypes crashed again and again. Engineers pushed her to rethink her approach, and the stress nearly broke her. But instead of sending her home, Musk's program gave her something rare. Patience. Failure wasn't punished, it was treated as the cost of entry. Slowly, painfully, her design improved. By the end of the month, her drone stayed in the air. Carlos, the farmer from Brazil, hit a different wall. His solar-powered irrigation idea. They worked on paper, but the hardware costs were higher than expected. He was told bluntly that his system couldn't scale without redesign. For a man used to the rhythm of fields and soil, the technical jargon felt overwhelming. He almost quit. But Musk's team paired him with a group of young engineers, and together they stripped his design down to its essentials. The final version not only worked, it became cheaper than anything on the market. And Raj, the student from India, faced perhaps the hardest trial of all: skepticism. Many doubted a teenager could lead a serious AI project. Some even accused him of stealing ideas, claiming he was just a kid who got lucky. But when he stood in front of a panel of experts and demonstrated his prototype translating medical instructions into 12 Indian dialects, the critics fell silent. For the first time, his family, sitting thousands of miles away, watched their son prove to the world that genius doesn't need permission. These stories became the heartbeat of the program. And yet, they were only the beginning. Because behind the headlines of success were countless failures. Thousands of ideas were rejected, outright. Not because they weren't valuable, but because resources were limited. For every dreamer who got a chance, there were 10 others still waiting in line. That reality stung. Some called the process unfair. Others accused Musk of picking favorites, and perhaps in some cases they were right. But here was the difference. Unlike the old systems of venture capital where doors remained shut forever, Musk's program left the door cracked open. Even those rejected received feedback, mentorship, or smaller grants, and for many that was still more than they had ever hoped for. The risks were everywhere: failure, burnout, public criticism, shattered dreams, but so were the rewards. Amina's drone project, once a fantasy, was now being tested in Kenyan villages. Carlos's irrigation system was saving crops across South America. Raj's translation AI was being piloted in rural clinics, helping patients understand treatments for the first time in their lives. And beyond these individual wins was something harder to measure but more powerful: belief. The belief that ordinary people, when given tools and trust, could create solutions as transformative as any billionaire or government agency. Musk had taken innovation out of boardrooms and labs and placed it in the hands of teachers, farmers, and students. The world was beginning to shift, not just because of the technology being built, but because of the courage being awakened. And yet, Musk wasn't finished. He had one final message, one that wasn't directed at governments, investors, or engineers, but at you sitting in front of a screen, wondering if you could ever be part of it. When the lights dimmed at the Austin event and Elon Musk returned to the stage one last time, the room went quiet. By then, the world already knew this was no ordinary launch, no car model, no rocket countdown, no slick product video. This was different. Musk leaned on the podium, scanning the crowd as though he was looking each person in the eye, and then he spoke in a way that didn't sound like a CEO addressing shareholders. It sounded like one human addressing another. He said, "All my life, people have told me what can't be done. They said you can't build an electric car people actually want. They said you can't reuse rockets. They said you can't merge biology with AI. But here's the truth. Limits are usually lies. They're excuses dressed up as wisdom. Most people accept those limits because they've been trained to. I don't want you to accept them anymore." The silence in the hall was heavy. Viewers around the world leaned closer to their screens. Musk was no longer talking about Tesla or SpaceX or Neuralink. He was talking about you. He continued, "You don't need billions of dollars. You don't need connections. What you need is courage, because courage is the rarest resource on earth. And that's what this offer is about. Courage." He paused, letting that word echo, and then he delivered the line that would replay on every news channel, every social media clip, every motivational video for weeks to come. "The offer is open. What will you build?" Those 6 words hit like a lightning bolt. Not because they were fancy, not because they were poetic, but because they shifted the burden. For years, the world had watched Musk build, disrupt, and push limits. But now he was turning the camera around. He was placing the responsibility not on himself, but on everyone listening. Suddenly, the audience was no longer passive. They were participants in the story. Some people left the event buzzing with excitement, already scribbling down ideas. Others left quietly, wrestling with doubt. Because that question, "What will you build?" isn't easy to answer. It forces you to look at yourself, at your hidden ambitions, at the dreams you buried long ago. And for many,